Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about from the absolute going to the relative, as I mentioned in yesterday. But before I go there, and let me say a few more words about the part I mentioned about the value, the first thing I mentioned in yesterday's outline of the whole series of videos and audio tapes. The point I want to make is when you might think that when you say this Instancology has offered the world something new, like the new world view of absolutology. Well, as philosophy should be, and because philosophy is excuse me, upstream field and looking or down other fields, giving them principles, guidelines for physics, for biology, for chemistry, whatever it is, and it's in the tradition of philosophy, and since ancient Greek time, like Aristotle or Plato, and at that time, philosophy is really the topmost thing. When Aristotle divided his subjects into several fields, obviously there's one related to how to build a bridge, how to make something useful, like engineering stuff, and from reading his work, you can see he is not interested in that part. So he really did very little, talked very little about that part. Even for the physical part, the physics, the biology, the categories of different plants or animals, and he doesn't talk as much as he talked about metaphysics. That's the point. That's a part he argued with his teacher Plato a lot, and obviously, although he admits the world comes from the reality, that is a physical world, physics, right? But he really that what inspired him most, I think, is still the metaphysical part, that is ontological part, with his teacher Plato. And from that, you see there's the person's tendency or character, or what his inspiration comes from, and you can see that. And for this part, what this related to the instancology is, when I say yesterday that it offers the concept of absolute, what do I mean by that? Why it's a big deal, and what's special about it? Let me say this. When I say philosophy, if it's a true philosophy, if it's really the discovery of truth, as philosophy should, it should offer an entirely new world view. Okay? But this one, how it's different from the past, you may ask, if you don't read or don't understand a lot about this system. You are new to it, of course, as everybody. You may ask this way. Let me give you an analogy. Well, let's compare it to science or natural science. We know for the physics, for this field, there's at least several stages. And think about that. Since Aristotle, and he has physics, right? That's obvious. He classified a lot of animals and plants and some geology-related stuff and things like that. And he's the sort of the starting point from his experience and about the world, of course, like astronomy and even the teeth, how many teeth a person should have. And he made a mistake by forgetting to count his wife's teeth. And that's we know that. Okay, so Aristotle has physics, all right? That is empirical physics, like Chinese, some Shen pick up the herbs to cure people. It's a similar concept. It's not exactly science, all right? Then it develops, it goes on till Newtonian time, okay? Newton has classic physics, okay? That is the true start of physics. Since Galileo's time, he put mathematics into it. That is, to make it a general knowledge of physics. So that's considered the starting point of modern meaning of science, okay? Otherwise, it won't be considered a science. Okay, that's the second part. Then it goes on till Einstein, Albert Einstein, okay? The relativity comes out, all right? In 1905, I believe, '06, around that period. And the special relativity, then the general relativity, okay? So that's the third part. And it deals with the high-speed movement of matter in the universe, and it basically make Newtonian physics a subcategory of the whole physics paradise or the big system, right? Okay. Then at the same time, and not very long, and the new quantum mechanics emerged, right? That's from the so-called Copenhagen school, right? And Bohr and argued with Einstein about a lot of things, like the uncertainty principles, things like that, right? Okay. Nowadays, till that from that time, that's last century. Nowadays, or like a half century later, the modern, the contemporary cosmology comes out. Okay, so you can say 5 stages. Okay, Aristotelian physics, Newtonian physics, Einstein's physics, and quantum mechanics, then new cosmology. So it's basically 5 period. Okay, so we can see that, and that's a development of physics. That's a symbol of science, natural science. But in philosophy, how can you decide what's a big stage? Philosophy has a history of 2,500 years already, right? And do we have such a big division? Do you see the big obvious period one by one? Well, it looks like not. And we have individuals. Each, I used to say they are big trees, right? They just grow up in history one by one to be connected like a dot, right? Like the trees of the history of philosophy. Now, Instancology divided the whole history of philosophy into two parts, not as 5 parts as in natural physics. The first part is called the relative. The second part is the absolute. So whatever before happened in past 2,500 years till now is relative. Do you agree? Everything is relative because it's a something. The other part is absolute. So this is the big division, you see, if you understand it. The absolute caused the relative to emerge, to create the world. Okay? The absolute is like God, but not personalized thing. All right? In religion, people may say it's God or something, but this is philosophy. We don't talk about God, okay? We say reason. What's a reason to reach that point? By reason, right? By rationale, or whatever we feel it's proper, okay? It's not just fancy talk or just anything you can throw out. You must have some reasoning, okay, to convince people, okay? So the absolute part going forward is out of itself to go to the absolute. So basically the 2 divisions instead of the 5 in physics. That's a significance. Okay, think about that. In terms of physical world, and in my book, I gave some illustrations with graphs about what I see the world. I feel that basically the absolute creates a world. The world has time, has space, has 5 dimensions. The world eventually divided into 2, the micro world and macro world, the 2 worlds, okay? But that world, according to the principle, the second principle of thermodynamics, the entropy thing, it will become disorder, chaos, and the heat will gradually spread, and so eventually this whole universe or world will come to nothing, to now, to go back to its point of Big Bang, original point, then everything start again. Basically, that's the idea from this new philosophy. That's worldview. How long does it take? I don't know. Billions or billions of years, maybe? Only when the whole universe is ending, everything will go back to the beginning. That's the idea. The bigger law underneath it, everything, including our world, if it has a start, it must have the end. It's like a life, okay? Now it's still at a stage of expanding, so it's still pretty young. So don't worry about death yet, like a child. And he's young, he's growing, he doesn't care about death. He knows probably one day he will die, but he never cares, right? He's just playing all the time. It's like a human being. And then nowadays, our world, our Earth is like that. Maybe one day, our Earth will be destroyed first, and then we move to another part of the universe. We may move out of the galaxy, our Milky Way galaxy, to another galaxy. So it's a long time, so don't worry for now. But basically the idea, the worldview is, if you're as an absolutist, as I said yesterday, or you take the view of being the absolutism and being absolutist, you will feel that's the future. All right. If you agree, you see the reason in this new philosophy, or so-called philosophy. You can feel that way. All right. Okay, that's for the collectively for human being, for the human race. But for each individual, what significance this new philosophy offers? I want to say that you have to realize, as a human being, you have the absolute parts inside you. There's two small absolute. One part is consciousness. The other part is thinking. Thinking is basic the logic, the syntax. It doesn't explain what it is. It doesn't have meaning, like the 1 and the 0 in computer. Okay? It is just the two numbers changes all the time. You just pick one at any moment, but it goes on, can go forever. I mean, basically, well, of course, within the limit of time and space, okay? The other part is consciousness. That is to see everything as a unity, the whole picture. So it has creativity, like music, arts, drawing, dance, whatever. The art forms are created by this part of your consciousness. That's how much creativity you have, okay? Realize this. Each individual, you are one, according to this absolutology, okay? When you are created, you are one. You are with absolutes in yourself, inside yourself. But the pity is, for people, for human beings now, because the science, the technology, the civilization in the world, in short, has not advanced to such a degree. All your cleverness, all your talent are forced to produce matter, to be forced to produce necessity, to sustain the matter, not the spiritual part. You are forced to do this. It costs you 19% of the time, maybe even more. Like animals. You know, we know animals search for food all the time, every day. Like we Chinese saying that a bird will die for searching worms. A pig will die for searching for eating, right? If you eat too much, you get killed. But you will get killed anyway. And so that's such a pity I see the human being, because they are hiding. They are their absolute part is hidden from the actual use. They are suppressed. Because of the different chances you are thrown in the world, into being, in Heidegger's term, you are forced to do a lot of things. It's really not worth what the absolute assigned you. You have absolute, which can overcome the relative part. So if you search for laws, for the physical laws in nature, you should be, or it can be done, because your power of the absolute is bigger than anything you encounter as a physicist, as a chemist, as a biologist. Whatever you do, you should be able to do it because you have the absolute. That is in terms of seeking knowledge, seeking the law, seeking the truth. Okay? But most people, because of the slight difference in cleverness or talent, or either release a little bit more absolute part or less of it to deal with the relative part, they are forced to work for other people who are just a little bit higher in releasing the absolute part, or a little bit more talented, or have more chances, or a little bit lucky to work for them 90% of the time, to create matter, to sustain the body, the material world. What a waste. So if you realize that as an individual, you really shouldn't be forced into this situation. Because the world is relative, and you are the combination of the relative with the absolute into one. Remember the principle one? When the absolute creates anything, it must be one. So you are unique in other way. You should have your own life. You should be creative. Give you example. You can be a poet, you can be an artist, you can be a musician, you can enjoy your spiritual needs. All right? The absolute has its own needs. For the thinking part, for the logical part, it wants to know the truth. Because anything, if it's something, it is mathematical, right? That's a dimension, the two dimension, mathematical and logical, okay? If you want to be a scientist, you should go to find that mathematical expression hidden inside that something, all right? If you want to use the other part, that's the consciousness part, you should be an artist, a musician, a poet. You should be enjoy spiritual things and creative. Be creative. That's your life, right? But unfortunately, 90% of people are trapped and into this world to be forced to work daily for a lot of things. It's only for the basic two animal needs, material needs, food and sex. Just totally ignored or hidden or hide the spiritual, the thinking, the absolute needs. Okay? That's even bigger need because you never know it, so you never if you don't know it, you never feel the need for it. All right? You just wasted your time a lot for quite a percentage of people. Okay, so compare this idea with Sartre idea of existentialism. See if it's deeper, right? He says you should existence before the definition, whatever it is. But here, I'm telling you, to be an absolutist has its deeper roots in your brain, in the organ, in the physical part of your body. But that two organs of your brain actually has the property of being absolute. So you should use them to form new career, new spiritual life, new future, if you realize that. Don't be trapped just because the chance you have in this world, or for the time being, you didn't show your talent somehow, or cleverness or something, but that's only a small part. As a human being, your identity is the absolute. You have that one, it creates you. You absolute are the localized absolutes. When it combined with your body, with the matter, okay, you are still part of the absolute. At least you should keep minimum to maintain your bodily needs, the needs of matter, that is the food and the sex. If you extend that, maybe your living quarters, your clothes, you have your travel, things like that. But the most important thing I want you to know is that you are an absolutist because you have two absolute parts inside you. You should realize what a real life should be for a human being. A human being is an absolutist, if you realize that. Okay, so how long? It's been a while already, so I'm going to stop here. Next time I'll talk about the picture and of the graphics I planned, but today it's really a long time already. And so think about what I said. That's really meaningful for you, and I hope you can appreciate the deep meaning behind what I talked about this system. Okay? See you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.